All right, let's talk about Alec Baldwin now.
Shall we?
Yes, Alec Baldwin could be in some serious trouble. And the FBI is now looking into wanting to get their hands on his phone, his cell phone. And what's going on here? Basically, the FBI and authorities are saying there's some missing information here that's not adding up. And we would like to know more about this. So now the phone has been seized by the FBI in the wake of the Helena Hutchins tragic movie set death, where the cinematographer was shot with a gun with, like, you know, whether it had a blank in it or not. So the Rust star's phone, Alec Baldwin's phone, has now been taken by the FBI in an effort to be searched by authorities.
His lawyers were saying, we just wanted the proper warrants. And now this is, I believe, the 5th warrant that authorities have had to obtain in order to get his information. They did say, yes, we'll give it to you. We don't want to, but you have to get a warrant. And once the warrant was obtained, they did, in fact, hand it over. Some of the information they're saying they're looking for is whether or not there was information exchanged in his phone about how the safety protocols of the set were not being followed or were not high standards, and that there was some discussion about that before the tragedy. And also there was some information that may have been exchanged after. It's hard to say, right? We're extrapolating at this point, but they do seem to be getting closer and closer into Alec Baldwin's involvement, whereas initial reports was an accident, he didn't know, right? So what are they looking for? They're saying there's some missing information, specifically that there is missing evidence from on the phone due to the individuals using cell phones during or after the commission of a crime. Like, who was to blame? Now, recently, Alec Baldwin sat down with George Stephanopoulos on ABC and did that interview where he said, no, I didn't pull the trigger. I didn't shoot the gun. The trigger was pulled, but I didn't pull it.
But I didn't pull it. It was pulled, but I didn't pull it. And so such information, as they say, if it exists, may be material and relevant to this investigation. Affiant is requesting a warrant for the seizure and the search of Alec Baldwin's cell phone to search for any evidence relating to the death investigation of Hutchins, according to the sheriff's office. And that was approved by the judge just yesterday. So there was a lot about these emails and text messages sent and received during the production of Rust. There was concern, of course, from people that worked on the set that it wasn't safe. There were people that left or had quit because it was an unsafe work environment. And so even though Baldwin has been communicating with the detectives here, is there something that they're explicitly looking for that they say they want? There's facts that are still missing, and they think that are absolutely necessary to establish probable cause to get this search warrant. So is there anyone to blame? Is anyone going to be facing any kind of criminal charges for this? Or is it simply a total mistake and nothing to see here? And her family is not, because her family is suing now, right? Obviously, for wrongful death. So
but even if he had previously said, wow, this set's not very good, they're kind of dangerous protocols, I don't like it here, and then still used the gun, right, assuming that it was a blank, that's not necessarily a crime or criminal intent at any point. But who knows? Right, and
whether or not there was a real bullet in the gun, as George Stephanopoulos asked him, The lawyers say specifically, we're confident that the evidence will show that Mr. Baldwin is not responsible civilly or criminally for what occurred on October 21st, and he continues to cooperate with authorities. That is the Baldwin's attorney. He says, we proactively requested that the authorities obtain a warrant so that we could take steps to protect Mr. Baldwin's family and personal information that is clearly unrelated to the investigation. A phone contains a person's entire life, and personal information needs to be protected. While they evaluate the phone information, we hope that the authorities continue to focus on how the live rounds got on the set in the first place. Yeah, like how did real bullets wind up in a set gun?
You can subpoena that information, though. You don't necessarily have to forcefully take the phone. So that's interesting, because since his lawyers have been so cooperative, they could have just asked for it over a subpoena, used a discovery software and submitted it. So it does seem a bit aggressive. And there are some people who say online, maybe they're answering for the fact that they don't want to be overly careful with Alec Baldwin because he's a white male, wealthy and famous.
Yeah, it is interesting, though, about this phone issue because, you know, as authorities, we know the FBI has wanted to get a backdoor entrance into software, into the iPhone, and Tim Cook and Apple said, absolutely not. We're not going to build you a software backend for something that does not exist.
Yes.
And I agree with them. I absolutely agree with Apple on this issue. The government overreach. I mean, we already know what the NSA does with tracking phone records and monitoring phone calls. Do we need the government and law enforcement to have any more tools in their tool belt right now to monitor us and surveil us? Absolutely. This comes down to individual privacy rights. So on that issue, he's right. Like, our phones now have everything. It has our health record. It has our banking information. It has, you know, it has nude photos. Well, just mine. It has, you know, it has pictures of your dog. It has your family information. It has everything. Everything you need, it, you know, is right here on a device. Right?
Yes.